Welcome back to Frankly Speaking. Guys, you can't even make this stuff up anymore. You can't do it. I mean, you got Blackrock now buying up a great majority of the houses. In some areas, as many as 25 to 40% of entire neighborhoods, in order that they can rent out these houses at exuberant rates, right? Of course, leading to a housing shortage, leading to record prices far and above and beyond what middle class and lower income people could ever afford, right? Making it impossible for many Americans to ever have the American dream in that respect. BlackRock, an $8 trillion company, $8 trillion is setting the market value. And BlackRock's not the only one. There's a few other ones out there, don't get me wrong. But this doesn't surprise me, because why? We have lots of political turmoil right now in the country, right? We're coming off a 2020 year that was very tumultuous with COVID and riots in the streets and people fleeing the big cities to the suburbs and to the country, right? Now we got a presidency that's very divisive, once again, with Joe Biden, and people are very confused. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. They don't know what the rules of the land are anymore. And again, this has created lots of, turbulence in the economic system, inflation at every turn we're hearing about. And guess what? Institutions like BlackRock are going to protect themselves. So they're going to invest in something that's tangible. They're going to invest in land. They're going to invest in homes, right? Why? Because they're tangible items. You can feel them, touch them, use them, start a business on, right? You can rent them out, whatever it may be. Unlike equities like stocks that are really a promissory note in some respects, based upon the dictate of value. And if that value is perceived to be low because we have economic hard times, stocks go down, right? This is how it works. People want something tangible they can feel and touch and use. And they're going toward the housing industry, taking over housing and using the opportunity while driving prices up, also driving rents up, and they can rent out these prices at exorbitant rates. And they're making profit while protecting themselves from what looks to be a potentially shaky future in the economy. It's a brilliant plan, right? For the oligarchs, right? You got to give them credit. I mean, this comes on the heels, again, on the report that guys like Bill Gates and all these other investment gurus and all these bigwigs and all these oligarchs and all these wealthy people who made their money in the free market system are buying up all the farmland, and pretty soon they're going to feed us whatever it is they want to feed us, right? Fake meat, vegetables. They're going to give us or impose their wisdom onto us, how we all live our lives, right? Because we can't have our own farms anymore. We can't raise our own animals. And by the way, there's all kinds of laws being passed in regards to how many animals you can have on your land, or what you can kill, what you can eat, what you can't eat. I mean, it's quite amazing here. As the free market system, which I've told you guys so many times before, it's an oligarchy system. It's an oligarchy system. The free market system always turns into oligarchy. That's what history teaches us, right? And really, the free market is along with democracy, right? Because you have no checks and balances on those that are powerful, right? In the old world, you had the monarch, who was a check on the nobility, right? But who is the check on the nobility now in a democracy? Nobody. Because money talks and BS walks. And when you separate the moral law from the governing body principles of political philosophy and ultimately the economy, who's to call right and wrong, fair and foul at this point in time? Nobody. There is no more arbitrary truth anymore. So if institutions like BlackRock want to drive prices up and charge exorbitant rates at the same time, hey, that's the free market, right, baby? Hell yeah, that's the free market. That's freedom, baby. That's American freedom, baby. I mean, this is quite amazing. If I would have came onto this show a month ago or a year ago, whenever it was, and said to you, there is a collusion by oligarchs to kick the middle class and poor people off the land and to make us a proverbial servile working force class in order for them to profit by paying out very minimum living standards, you guys would have said I'm a kook. You guys would have said I'm a conspiracy theorist. Well, tell me how this isn't playing out now. We have a servile workforce where the demands, in order for them to keep up their lives, to have a dwelling spot and health care and food now is such an exorbitant rate that most people are falling behind. You think it's by accident that we have 40% of the population that are in government redistribution programs, and you guys on the right want to talk about cutting welfare? How? We got an economic system where people can't take care of themselves even when they're working hard, ironically enough. You guys get this yet? This is the consolidation of the free market. I told you guys before, once you strip man from the tools of his trade, once you destroy his family, and once you rob him of the land, there is no such thing as freedom anymore. It's gone. That system was gone in America a long time ago, all in the name of free markets. And no, this is not communism or Marxism. Get out of the left and right paradigm. You guys have been blinded by that left and right paradigm. There was another way in Christendom. It worked well, where you had a concept of free trade, free exchange of goods and services. Want to call it capitalism? Fine. Call it capitalism. Fine. But you had the moral laws and the moral principles of the church in place to make sure that these systems weren't abused like they're being abused now. The only difference is there is no moral arbiter of truth. Because guess what? The Enlightenment thinkers said, screw the church. We're going to kick the church out. We're going to make it a private affair. You believe what you believe. I believe what I believe. And that's all that matters. We've proven here that without any true and just moral principles, not even the free markets, not even the free exchange of goods and services can work. It can't work. And it's been coming down for a long time. Look at the situation we have. Everything is virtually unaffordable now for the lower classes, the lower middle class, and now even becoming unaffordable for the middle class, right? Healthcare is outrageously out of control in prices. Housing is out of control. Car prices never go down. Food prices, name whatever it is that most people need essential for survival, it is skyrocketing prices. We've all been sold an education, right? Look at the cost of education. Look how ridiculously expensive it is right now. The only thing we get on the cheap now is what? Our little electronic gadgets, right? Why? Because we have a slave class in China making those things for us, right? The greatest economy in the history of the world. That's what America is. Yeah. With multi-billions and trillions of dollars in debt and a Chinese servile slave class system that makes our goodies to keep ourselves entertained, right? Is that what the greatest economy in the history of the world is based upon? Is that what the free markets are? Because this is all coming on to a head here, guys. It's all collapsing in front of us now, whether we want to admit it or not. And please stop with the excuse making of fascism that you guys on the right continue to make constantly. This isn't fascism. It has never been fascism. How many fascists do you actually know? Has nothing to do with fascism. This is the free market collapsing on itself. This is the free market once again, as we told you so many times, that turns into an oligarchy system. But you guys never want to believe that, right? Because God forbid if we put any moral principles on anything in this country, right? Right? We got porn here, prostitution there. We got every moral vice that is now endorsed by government. And God forbid if we say, wait a minute, even in the marketplace, there tends to be a place for abuse if we have no moral principles in place. That's what Catholics have argued for a long time. And you guys have never wanted to listen. Freedom, 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 right? I'm looking at this, and to say I told you so at this point, I'm just laughing here. I'm just cracking up here. Hey, and you guys go watch Tucker. I'm sure Tucker Carlson will make you feel better tonight, right? He'll have some report or something, and he'll put it into context where it fits in this classical liberal paradigm where we can all protect what we believe and what we've preached in this classical liberal civilization for the past 30, 40, 200 years and still be good conservatives at the end of the day, right? He'll put it in context for you so you feel better about it, right? But the bottom line is that it's all falling apart on conservatives. And my suggestion to you guys on the right is stop protecting your ideology. I know you're on record. I know you're on record as preaching freedom, liberty, free markets, all that stuff. Right? I understand that you have a reputation. And at this point in history, say, I was wrong. Well, you know what? There's something liberating about that. Because I was there. I was in your camp for a long time. And it was hard, painstakingly hard for me to admit it, but I was wrong. There was another way. This left and right dichotomy has always been a lie. Has always been a lie from the beginning. And now to have the Glenn Becks, who has gotten wealthy and rich of preaching about the evils of communism and Marxism for the past 30 years, and now him coming out and saying, wait a minute. I was wrong. It wasn't Marxism. It wasn't communism. It was fascism. Really, Glenn? You just figured it out? So the past 30 years you've been wrong? Getting wealthy off the backs of what? Your own listeners, right? Making a good living, right? preaching about the evils of crime. Now you figured out, Glenn? Sorry if I don't believe you anymore, Glenn. I never thought you were that bright in the first place, Glenn. Every time you open your mouth, you make an ass out of yourself. But that's fine, though, Glenn. You can do that, right? Because that's freedom and liberty to mislead people for 30 freaking years. 30 years you can mislead people, make a bunch of money in America, and live the good life. Isn't that perfect? That's what's happening right now in America, isn't it? It's amazing times we're living in, and yet I get accused of being the conspiracy kook in the end. People look at me like I'm crazy. Frank, Catholicism will never work in America. Well, guess what? Secular democracy isn't working in America. And even most conservatives feel it now. They just don't have an answer because they're caught up in this ideological lockdown with their progressive siblings, right? This is how we've been raised. There's a left and there's a right and there's nothing in between. There's no other way to look at the world, right? I mean, it's quite amazing. The crap hole of a civilization and nation we become. And this doesn't even include the breakdown of the family, the utter rottenness of the culture, and everything else coming down the pipe. People fleeing the cities, going to the country. Why? Because they're scared. Because of political turbulence, economic chaos, moral depravity. The country's changing. I'm even hearing concerns about balkanizing America, breaking it all up. If you're going to break it all up, then what are you defending? What is your classical liberal ideology even worth at this point? If you're talking about breaking up the country, either this thing works or it doesn't work. Either you were right or you were wrong. You guys have made a number of blunders on the right. And it's time to consider something that was better, worked better, that governed civilization for a long time in a very healthy state, where the family was intact, the culture was strong and vibrant, and guess what? The church governed with a sense of morality that brought peace and stability and a better way of life, and not a debt usurer system where we all have become servile debt workers for our entire lives from birth to death. This isn't working anymore, guys. This example of these industries, these corporations, buying out the homes, kicking the middle class, the lower classes into the land is the ultimate in corruption right now. You can't say, well, in America, if you work hard, you can make it. You can't say that anymore. You can't. Because in America, you can work your ass off and still not make it. That's the laws of the free market system. That's the laws of a capitalism without morality. That is the laws of a civilization that has abandoned Christ the King, Holy Mother Church, the sacraments, and embraced her fallen nature, all in the name of liberty. This is Frank, signing off for Frankie Speaking. Good night, everybody.